Okay. Says that everyone's in listen-only mode. General Counsel, is there a quorum?
Madam Chair, I'm showing that there is. I'm showing Andy Place, Mark Wallner, Michael Schopmeyer, and yourself.
All right. We will go ahead and then get started, and hopefully our other board members will be joining us. And we need to mute our phones if we are, or our computers if we're not speaking, so we can all hear. But I'll call to order the May 2020 meeting of the IHCDA Board of Directors. And we're meeting again telephonically today pursuant to the current health emergency and the Governor's Executive Order 20-04 and 20-09. And since we are meeting telephonically, the procedure will be a little different. There will not be a video feed, therefore board members will not be able to see each other, but there will be an audio feed for the general public, so that members of the public can listen to the meeting, and there will be an audio recording posted to IHCDA's website next month. At the time the motions are being made, each board member that makes a motion should state your name for the record. And have there been any other board members to join us? All right. Well, we will go ahead and then start moving through the agenda. Again, if everyone could mute your phones or your computers, if you're not speaking, that will help eliminate background noise and make the audio better. Our first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the April 23rd, 2020 board meeting. Are there any questions, corrections, or additions to those minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve, but please state your name for the motion.
Mike Schopmeyer, move for approval.
It's
Andy
been moved.
Place, second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion does pass. And at this time, we will move to our second item on our agenda, that is bond volume 4% credit. Please welcome Peter Nelson to present a recommendation regarding the bond value 4% credit, KHA and RAD1. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Good morning. Excuse me. Yes, I am here this morning to recommend actually some back-to-back bond recommendations. The first being the KHA RAD1 project. Just to kind of spell that out, KHA is the Kokomo Housing Authority. RAD is the Rental Assistance Demonstration. I believe we approved maybe 2 months ago a Bloomington RAD project. And just to give kind of a quick update for anybody listening into the call, or maybe any board members that were not on the call, when I gave just kind of a quick overview of what the RAD program is. But it's just a program created by HUD to give public housing authorities a tool to improve their public housing stock. So it allows the leveraging of public and private dollars to reinvest in these public housing stocks that need some definite rehab and upkeep and reinvestment. So this project, KHA RAD1, is the 19th application we received in the 2019 round, one of the final ones that we got last year. Represents a total development cost of just over $41 million. They are requesting $21,200,000 in bond volume and $1,378,035 in LIHTC annually to preserve 335 units of affordable housing. So as I mentioned, it is the Kokomo Housing Authority. They are partnering with the Advantix Development Corporation, and they are proposing the rehab and RAD conversion of 4 different public housing projects in the Kokomo area. The overall project contains 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units, so a very good mix of different types of units for families. Pretty substantial rehab, including replacement of mechanical systems, flooring, cabinets, and then each site is within a mile of retail, restaurants, grocery, so a lot of amenities that the public will be able to use in and around this project. So staff is recommending the full allocation of the bond volume and credits requested for this project, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Peter? Peter, we are ready for your resolution.
Okay, staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $21,200,000 in bond volume and $1,378,035 in annual LIHTC to KHA RAD 1 LP for KHA RAD 1 according to the terms of the 2019 AB application round as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I will entertain a motion.
Andy Place, motion for approval.
Is there a second?
Mike Schotmeyer, second.
It's been moved and approved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you, Peter. And now I believe that you will be presenting a recommendation regarding bond volume 4% credits to Monon Crossing.
Yes, thank you. So this this project, it was the 6th application we received and reviewed, represents over a total development cost of almost $44.5 million. They are requesting $35 million in bond volume and $1,626,300 in LIHTC to construct 240 units of affordable housing. This is Herman and Kittle Properties proposing new construction of the 240 units in New Albany. The project contains 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. It's a family property, very large size living rooms, dining rooms. They exceed our minimum criteria we set in our qualified allocation plan for unit sizes. So they're very attractive units. They are offering a variety of amenities. There will be a clubhouse, fitness center, computer center, community room with a kitchen in this project. And the project site is located within a mile of several amenities, grocery stores, retail restaurants in the area. Staff reviewed this project under the 2021 qualified allocation plan and made sure it met all our criteria. And we are recommending the full allocation of the bond volume and tax credits for this project. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take those at this time.
Board, do you have any questions for Peter? Peter, we are ready for your resolution.
Great. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $35 million in bond volume and $1,626,300 in annual LIHTC to Monon Crossing LP for Monon Crossing according to the terms of the 2020 AB application round as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I will entertain a motion.
Mark Wallner, designee for Treasurer of State Kelly Mitchell, move to approve.
Andy Place, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Please welcome Alan Rakowski to provide an update regarding application denials for bond volume 4% credit. Welcome, Alan.
Yes, thank you, Lieutenant Governor. This is Alan Rakowski, the Director of Real Estate Allocation. So here to inform the board of 3 application denials on bond applications. So just as background, we began the 2020 bond round beginning of this year. The first, second, and 9th applications we received were Sagamore Village Assisted Living, which would be in West Lafayette, Vita of West Lafayette, and Green Oaks of Granger. A detailed summary of each project is provided in the development summary sheets that are attached. So during the round, the real estate staff reviewed the applications to ensure they met the criteria of the 2020-2021 QAP. And part of the threshold review is a review of the project's market study. IHCDA's market study review includes, but is not limited to, an assessment of penetration rates, capture rates, lease-up performance, and occupancy rates for comparable properties in the primary market area, and the concentration of similar project types in the primary market area, including both operational and currently funded properties that have not yet been fully completed. So after reviewing the market study for each project, IHCDA determined that an analysis of each market does not demonstrate demand for the proposed developments at this time. So for this reason, IHCDA denied these funding requests for these 3 applications earlier this month. So we want to make the board aware of this and also give you an opportunity to ask any questions if you have any. So with that, I'll pause and see if there are any questions.
Are there any questions for Peter?
It's Andy Place calling.
I'm sorry.
Andy Place, do these have an opportunity to come back in as a potential?
They do. So if applications, if we deny an application, this would be technically an application being denied because it didn't meet threshold. The QAP does state that they can reapply in 60 days. Of course, they'll need to, as part of the reapplication, if they decide to come back in, demonstrate that, address our concerns. So they do have that option. Obviously, they'd have to present to us, whether it be 60 days or farther out, a study that does show that there is a demand. And that would be one of the first things we would look at if it does, these projects do come back in.
Any additional questions for Alan?
Alan, this is Mark. Just to you and your team, appreciate that you're reviewing these thoroughly. I know it's non-competitive credit versus the 9%. So I guess it may be easier just to push these out, but appreciate that you're looking at demand and market study. And it sounds like even though they could come back in, they'd have to show that there's been a demonstrable change in the market to show the need for these developments. So thank you for being good stewards of the credits, and no
Sure.
questions, comment. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Any additional questions or comments for Alan? Thank you, Alan.
Okay, you're welcome.
Please welcome Chris Nevels to present recommendations for the 2019-2020 Home Investment Partnership Program Awards. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Nevels. I am the Home and CDBG Manager at IHCDA, and I am here to recommend funding for our 2019 home rental round. The Home Investment Partnership Program provides funding for new construction and rehabilitation of affordable rental housing for low to moderate income households. Home-funded developments have strict requirements on rent limits, income eligibility, cost, and long-term affordability. Each fiscal year, a minimum of 15% of home funds must be allocated to certified community housing development organizations, or CHODOs. CHODOs are IHCDA certified not-for-profit housing organizations that meet specific home regulations. While most applicants are limited to a maximum award of $1 million in home funding, certified CHODOs are eligible to request up to an additional $500,000 for a total of $1.5 million. CHODOs are also eligible to request additional funds to use as an operating system when developing a home-funded project. So this year we had 11 applicants apply to be certified as a CHODO during the 2019 home round. All CHODO applications were checked by IHCDA real estate staff for completeness and to determine whether all requirements were met. Each applicant was given the opportunity to respond to any staff questions regarding its application. And upon completion of this review, 10 applicants were certified as CHODOs. And then of those 10 applicants that were certified as CHODOs, 8 subsequently applied for 2019 home funding. So the 2019 home round was a competitive rental round only. Applications were due on or before March 9th, 2020. Prior to the application deadline, real estate allocation staff did host a webinar during which changes to the policy were discussed and technical assistance was provided for anyone who requested it. So each application received by IHCDA was checked for completeness and to determine whether all threshold requirements were met. Each application was also scored by reviewers based on requirements outlined in the home rental application policy. Each applicant was given the opportunity to respond to staff questions regarding its application, and only projects scoring at or above the minimum score of 68 were eligible to receive funding this round. I would like to take a second just to thank the team and everyone who worked on the round. Obviously, this round was conducted under some unusual circumstances. The day that the applications were due was actually, I think, the last day IHCDA was in the office, if I'm remembering right. But we still managed to hit all of our deadlines, and we didn't have to push back the timeline at all. And I think that's a real reflection of the quality of work that we all put into reviewing these applications. So IHCDA did receive 20 rental applications for a total request of $17,670,467. Of the 20 applications that were received, 5 of those applications also included requests for development fund for a total amount of $1,680,820. And then the 8 pre-certified CHODOs that I discussed above requested CHODO operating support dollars for a total amount of $391,000. Today, the real estate allocation team is recommending funding for 13 of the 20 home rental applications for a total allocation of $13,340,467. Then of those 13 applications, 1 is also being recommended to receive development fund for a total of $385,150. And then 6 of the pre-certified CHODOs are being recommended to receive CHODO operating supplement funds for a total of $291,000. So you can find a list of all the projects that we're recommending for funding in Exhibit A in the board packet. A list of all projects that were denied can be found in Exhibit B. And then Exhibit C is a map that shows where all the recommended projects will be located. The KPIs we're tracking for this round are listed in your packet as well. One thing to note is that this was the largest and most competitive home round we've had in several years. We will be funding 216 units this round. That's 61 units more than the next closest year. And that number was actually reached by holding 2 rounds in 1 year. I believe this increase is due to the excellent technical assistance that we provide, and then also policy and application improvements that we've made. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Board, are there any questions for Chris?
Governor, quick question for Chris on our end. Just can you clarify, Chris, how much total home you have and whether this, I believe I understand this allocates all the home dollars for the year for IHCDA.
Sure. So I can give you some approximate numbers here. We have approximately 22 million total. That includes what we were allocated in 2019, and then also funding that remains from previous rounds going back to 2017. So from that 22 million, we have various amounts that have already been committed to other projects or they're set aside. So for example, there is money that is set aside for home buyer awards. There's money that's set aside for tax credit home combo awards. There's money that's been committed to tenant-based rental assistance. When you take that, when you reduce those, the amount awarded by that money that's been set aside for other purposes, that leaves us with about 13.5 million or so for this round. And so this basically commits all of that to the 13 applications we're recommending.
Perfect, thank you.
Any additional questions? Chris, we are ready for your resolution. Or yeah, I believe you'll have 3 of them, so we'll do them one at a time. Okay.
Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolutions. Resolved that the board approve home funding in the form of grants in an aggregate amount not to exceed $13,340,467. The applicants as set forth in Table A and Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I will entertain a motion and a second.
Andy Place, motion to approve.
Mark Wallner.
Mike Schotmeyer, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. No opposition. Motion passes. And Chris, we're ready for your second resolution.
Resolved that the board approve development fund loans in an aggregate amount not to exceed $385,150 to the applicants as set forth in Table A and Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Mark Wallner, Treasurer State Designee, move to approve.
Andy Place,
Mike Schotmeyer,
second.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And Chris, your final resolution.
Resolved that the board approve the home Chodo operating supplement funding in the form of grants in an aggregate amount not to exceed $291,000 to the applicants as set forth in Table A and Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Motion to approve. Andy Place. Sorry, Mark.
Andy, it's all yours. I'll second you.
All right. Motion to approve. Andy Place.
Mark Wollner, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
And please welcome Rich Harcourt to present the MAH Cedar Glen LP bond recommendation. Welcome, Rich.
Good morning. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. The purpose of this request is the approval for the issuance of the Series 2020 Multifamily Housing Revenue Notes Cedar Glen Apartment project not to exceed $7.3 million. This is a project located in South Bend, 179 units of affordable housing. You approved this as a board on October of 19. And the city of South Bend was going to be the issuer, and we've been asked to step in and be the issuer as the city of South Bend is closed at this point in time. The developers is Merchants Affordable Housing, and staff recommends that the board approve issuance of the Series 2020 Multifamily Housing Revenue Bonds pursuant to the attached resolution. This is also non-recourse and conduit financing. I apologize. None of this is a recourse to IHCDA.
Are there any questions for Rich? Rich, we are ready for your resolution.
Thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the Series 2020 Multifamily Housing Revenue Bonds, parentheses, Cedar Glen Apartments Project, close parentheses, pursuant to the attached resolution as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Move to approve. Mark
So
Pascal.
moved. Second, Mike Schotmeyer.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Rich. And Rich will now present the Monon Crossing bond recommendation.
Thank you, board. You just approved this moments ago, but the purpose of this attached resolution is to request the approval of the issuance of the Series 2020 Multifamily Housing Revenue Bonds, parentheses, Monon Crossing Apartments Project, not to exceed $35 million, close parentheses. So again, you all just approved this just moments ago, 240 units of affordable housing. This again is non-recourse conduit sort of financing. Staff recommends the board approve issuance of the Series 2020 Multifamily Housing Revenue Bonds pursuant to the attached resolution.
Any questions for Rich? Rich, we're ready for your resolution.
Thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve the Series 2020 Multifamily Housing Revenue Bonds, parentheses, Monon Crossing Apartments Project, close parentheses, pursuant to the attached resolution as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us, and I'll entertain a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second. Andy Place, second.
And who made the motion?
Mark Pascal.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Rich. And now Jacob will provide us with our executive update. Jacob, welcome.
Good morning, Lieutenant Governor.
We still have a couple more to go, I think.
We have Brookhaven to do. Do we need to do the Brookhaven Apartments refinancing bond recommendation?
Yeah, and the private activity bond volume as well.
We have 3 more.
And Monon Crossing?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Chair, we have 3 more items of recommendations for private activity bond volume.
Did we lose Jay?
No, I'm here. Did
Okay.
you? Yes, we have 3 more action items related to bond volume. Do you see those on the agenda? Monon Crossing.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry, Rich. Yes, I do. I turned my page and just ended up getting on the wrong page. So yes, go ahead. Have you made your presentation?
I have not, but I would be delighted to do so.
Okay, please do. I apologize.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. The next memo deals with private activity bond volume, and I'm going to speak for just a moment, and then I also have Tyler Kalachnik, bond counsel for ICE Miller, who, Madam Chair, if acceptable, may want to make a comment or two about this as well. But as you know, the state on an annual basis gets about $700 million in volume cap. And as that gets allocated across different entities, IHCDA ends up with about 140 million of it every year to do multifamily projects. And as you know, there are, for the issuance of the debt, the non-recourse debt, there are really a couple of ways that it can be utilized. One would be the city or the municipality is the issuer. The other is that we are. And in the past, we have allocated that volume cap down to cities and towns and municipalities, and we have used our carry forward volume cap first. And I think working with ICE Miller and Tyler, I think we've determined that we probably need an agreement with the designee of the city, the town, or the municipality that uses that carry forward volume cap. And so that is what this this memo proposes. It proposes that going forward, when we push our volume cap down into a city, a town, or a municipality, that we will have an interlocal agreement with them that kind of spells out a few of the responsibilities that goes along with it. We have worked in conjunction with IFA, who we get our volume cap through. Mark Pascarella and his council are aware of this and have approved of it. So I'll stop there and let, if it's acceptable to you, Madam Chair, let Tyler Kalachnik make a few comments, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Rich, and good morning, board, Madam Chair. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Rich mentioned, yeah, there's really 2 ways that IHCDA is involved in the issuance of these bonds, and you've seen the examples of where they're directly the issuer, but always have a hand in the issuance in terms of allocating volume cap. And we've been working with staff since the beginning of this year and studying what other issuers in other states have done and surveying other bond counsel. And I think more or less this is to create more of a paper trail to tie the volume directly to the local issuers versus a letter to the developer that says volume cap's been awarded. So this will provide more documentation. I think it's a best practice that we've seen others, and it's all over the spectrum, but this seems to be what we would recommend studying and talking to other states and their other bond councils.
Are there any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, just real quick, Rich, do you see this as an impediment to getting work done? It sounds like this is maybe a new step or a new agreement you'll be asking local units to enter into. Is there any reason a local unit would not enter into one of these agreements or anything that you see that this could impede?
Yeah, Councilor, I appreciate the question. I don't see any impediment. Really, this is just documenting the paper trail of how the volume cap flows from IFA down through us and down into them. And we do have a little bit of oversight and responsibility for that. So I don't see it as an impediment as much as I just see making sure we have a clearer trail. And if Councilor Kalachnik has got any additional comments, I'd welcome those as well.
Yeah, I'd just add that the local entity will have to approve an ordinance anyway to issue the bond. So this will be I think a pretty easy addition to that as one of the documents that they approve.
Very good. I appreciate the oversight and the coverage on the IHCDA side. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or comments for Rich?
This is Mark Pascal. I'll just add that I did appreciate IHCDA reaching out to the IFA so we could work through this together. So there has been extensive dialogue between the two agencies discussing this to make sure that it works for all partners. So appreciate that.
Any additional questions or comments? Rich, we're ready for your resolution.
Thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved, the form of interlocal cooperation agreement and the delegation of authority to the executive director, chief financial officer, or director of real estate to enter interlocal cooperation agreements pursuant to the attached resolution as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. Is there a motion and a second?
Mark Pascal, move to approve.
Second, Mike Schotmeyer.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Rich?
Thank you.
Yep.
We're going to talk about Brookhaven Apartments refinancing bond recommendation. So this is an existing deal, permanent Kittle transaction in Indianapolis, 271 units, senior housing. We originally approved this in 2008, and it has as you can see, a component of both tax and tax exempt debt. This particular financing is allowing them to move a portion of their variable rate debt to a synthetic fixed rate debt. And again, this is non-recourse conduit financing. Staff recommends the board approve issuance of the Series 2020 multifamily housing revenue refunding bonds and the loan of the proceeds thereof to Brookhaven Apartments LP pursuant to the attached resolution.
Are there any questions for Rich? Not, I will entertain a motion in a second.
Motion, Haney, please.
Second, Mike Schotmeyer.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Rich. Now, do you have anything else, or are we finished? Very good. Are we ready for your report, Jake?
Sure, I can give my report. Yes, thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I have a few items just wanted to go over. Number one, I'd like to continue to update you on the operations at IHCDA. We continue to operate remotely and without any disruptions. And I think Chris Neville showed a good example of when we say there's no disruptions in terms of ensuring that we're reviewing the applications and sticking to timelines that we have set for ourselves. Way before working remotely, and we've been able to continue to meet those deadlines and those timelines. So there is continues to work without any disruptions while we are working remotely. Our operations plan, and I want to thank Kylene Welling for her work on this. She's our Chief Operating Officer, has really done a great job with pulling together our plan to be back on track, Indiana. And we plan to begin working in a hybrid mode of going back into the office at the beginning of phase 4, which is currently, we're anticipating that to be June 14th. And then that team, as we start to do that, we'll have a hybrid where we've broken up the office into 2 different teams. We have a team A and a team B. And one team will be coming in on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays, everyone will be working remotely while we clean the office. And then on Thursday and Fridays, the team B will be coming into the office. So obviously there's a lot of coordination going on here, not only internally within IHCDA's operations, but also working with our building. Kite Development is the owner of 30 South Meridian, and so we obviously are coordinating with them, and then also coordinating with the state of Indiana in terms of our plans. So that's our operations side. We have 2 programs under the CARES Act that we have been working diligently on to get approval to begin the process of obligating these dollars, and that is in partnership with the HUD Indiana Field Office. The Emergency Solutions Grant in IHCDA is going to be receiving an additional $13.5 million in ESG funds. There will be about other cities, entitlement cities will be receiving approximately around $7 million of these funds as well. And IHCDA will be allocating funds to go into the balance of the state. And so we've broken the ESG program down into 3 sections. The majority of the funds we're going to focus on rental assistance, somewhere close to around $10 million, and that'll be for rapid rehousing, which are those that are experiencing homelessness, and then rental assistance for homeless prevention, about $7.6 million, and those are at risk of becoming homeless and who do not have assistance. Shelters operations, supporting emergency shelters, looks like there'll be around $2.5 million is what we're estimating to allocate out. And then some outreach and case management for those that are experiencing homelessness is around $500,000. So we're anticipating being able to get approval from the HUD Indiana office here shortly, hopefully within the next week or so. The other piece to this is, traditionally IHCDA has made these awards with ESG through a network of not-for-profits, which we plan to do. However, we understand that the need for rental assistance right now is one of the top priorities across our state. And so in order to meet this need and the resources that we have available to make sure that they're efficient and that we can use them to maximize the potential of providing rental assistance or homeless prevention, we are proposing a new intake process that would allow us to determine if an individual is eligible or not. And so having a single port client intake, and then IHCDA, what we call it a hub, and then IHCDA could distribute those client files out to the network of not-for-profits, hopefully relieving some of the stress that is going to be put onto the not-for-profit network, and IHCDA can absorb some of that and begin that first high-level overview of those clients. And so then we would send them out working closely with the coordinated entry so that we can do those assessments. And that's kind of the new process we're working towards. And so we're confident that we'll be able to deploy this new process here and be able to more efficiently and effectively manage the volume that we're anticipating with ESG. Obviously, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's not going to go very far based on the need that we're hearing, and we understand based on all the data. So, but I'm really proud of our team, specifically Elspeth Hilton. I know she's not joining us today. She's in another meeting, but her and her team have done a great job with really understanding the issue and the challenges that we have. You know, we could have continued to do what we've normally done, which is allocated through the not-for-profits, but, you know, keeping that open mind and looking for solutions and the challenges that we're going to handle these resources. I'm really proud of the work that they're doing. So now we are in a pending mode right now with these dollars. We're waiting for HUD, Indiana Field Office, to give us approval with these. And same way with our housing opportunities with AIDS, IHCDA received another $231,000. Some entitlement communities also received some of those dollars as well. So these dollars are to be used to provide HOPWA grantees additional funding for their operations and for rental assistance and services. So again, this is short term, could be short-term rental assistance, utilities to prevent homelessness for persons with AIDS. So both of these programs, we had a virtual public hearing on May 22nd and received some public feedback on that. And then we submitted our proposal to HUD as well. So like I said, both of these programs are right now, we're just waiting on approval. Once we get that final approval, then we can begin to take that application process and begin hopefully to make some awards here soon and implement both of these programs and allocate these resources. So, so that's where we are with those two programs under the CARES Act. As I mentioned, we understand the need for rental assistance and the challenges that a lot of renters are up against as it relates to making their payments. In one indirect way that we are trying to address this issue is with some of the multifamily properties where IHCDA has made a multifamily loan using our Home Investment Partnership Funds, our Indiana Housing Community Development Fund, or some of our Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief Funds. And when we made those loans, there are specific terms, repayment terms that those loans operate under, and that the property is obligated to repay IHCDA. With that, we made a decision to relax and to do a forbearance or deferral of the principal payments, starting with developments that had a payment that was due between May 1st, 2020 and ending on April 30th, 2021. And during that period, a property can defer their principal payments and add that onto at the maturity of the loan in terms of a balloon payment. Most of these loan terms are a 15-year loan. So we recognize that allowing this to deferral of a loan to happen will open up and not put so much stress in terms of cash flow onto the property and allow the property to work with their permanent lender. In many cases, these loans are in second position. So in many cases, they may be working with their first position lender to renegotiate the terms of their loans. And so this is an effort to allow that to happen. It also allows them to take away their energy and hopefully continue to focus on working with their residents to have plans, payment plans in place so that those residents can continue to live in their units without the risk of eviction. So I'm really proud again of the team in the real estate department, Matt Rayburn, Alan Rakowski, who we've heard, Peter Nelson, Jerry Bain, for their work and their leadership and their forward thinking in terms of how we may indirectly have a positive impact on preventing evictions, at least for properties that we have financed. So that's our debt service relief, home development fund, and CDBG disaster funds for our multifamily loans. So The other item that I wanted to update the board on is in partnership with Lieutenant Governor's family of business, other agencies, developing a rural road to recovery plan. This plan is really putting forth the recovery efforts that a lot of our communities are up against. And our team, Samantha Spurgel, has taken the lead on developing IHCDA's comprehensive strategy. We've also been in collaboration with the Purdue Center for Regional Development. And last week, we sent out a survey to our community partners and asking them to help us continue to identify the challenges and the opportunities that are presented to us as we develop a plan. We've obviously, since mid-March, we have continued to have weekly calls with our stakeholders. I think we host close to 20 weekly calls every week. And so we do know a lot of the challenges and opportunities that are out there based on these listening sessions, but this survey will allow us to drill a little bit more deeper at this point in time. As I've mentioned, we recognize that there are immediate, there are medium needs, and there's a long-term need. Right now, I think, it's pretty clear that the immediate need is rental assistance to prevent evictions. There's still a medium need in terms of providing incentives for landlords to participate in traditional voucher programs. We have a lot of situations where we know we have individuals who may have rental assistance, but finding an affordable, safe, and decent place to live might be a challenge. And then obviously we have the long-term need, which is the production and preservation of affordable housing, whether that be home ownership or multifamily, the whole spectrum. We know that we have a long-term need there of continuing to preserve and create affordable housing that is safe and decent for Hoosiers. So we're pulling this Rural Road to Recovery Plan. Again, this is in collaboration with the other agencies that report directly to the Lieutenant Governor. And that's been very rewarding for us to continue to be part of a larger comprehensive plan as well for our communities. As I mentioned, our Emergency Solutions Grant and our HOPWA grants, we're looking to hopefully make awards here as soon as we can. It would be ideal if maybe we could make some awards before June 25th. That may be a stretch based on timing and approvals and things like that. However, if we were given the opportunity to make awards with either one of these programs before June 25th, we would like to do that so that we could expedite these dollars. But in order for us to do that, we would need to extend the delegation authority that's been provided to the executive director because that is expired today. So I would ask that the board extend the executive director's delegation authority until June 25th, and then we can revisit and see where we are in terms of the timeline of continuing to allocate the ESG or the HOPWA funds. So that's one recommendation I would like to make to the board today. And then lastly, our June 25th board meeting is scheduled to be a virtual meeting once again. So we're looking at doing the same format as we had today. So,
great.
Madam Chair, that's my update for this month. Taking questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Jake? And we will take a vote on your recommendation, Jake. But are there any questions for Jake?
Governor, just a quick question for Jake. On the multifamily deferral of principal program, it's a really neat initiative. Was wondering are the developers then exchanging like a commitment not to evict beyond the governor's June 30 deadline, or is that just more of an expectation, or are they actually like committing to not evict any low moderate income past the moratorium? I was just wondering if it's kind of is it a softer or a harder kind of commitment on their side?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mark. And that is a conversation that internally we had about with policy. Should we impose a restriction on evictions if they accept the deferral of the principal payments? And we are not, it's not a requirement to participate. It's a straight across the board policy that impacts about 200 properties to allow them to defer the payment. They're still obligated to make the payment. It doesn't relieve them or forgive them of any obligation of the payment. It's just the relief is when they have to pay. Now, one of the other challenges that we talked about is if we were going to enforce an eviction moratorium, I guess, if they were to accept the deferral payment, would be our ability to enforce it. It would be a real challenge for us right now in this environment. You know, we're exceeding our capacity in terms of our ability to continue to stay up with everything else that's going on related to the CARES Act and everything else. It really does become a real challenge for us to enforce it if we were to do that. And so that would be an administrative burden for us that I don't know if we would be able to do it, to be quite honest. So we did have to manage that, that piece. I think it is, you know, it's about ensuring that the properties have the flexibility to and encourage them to use eviction as a last resort. And obviously it's very costly for a property to go through an eviction process, but you know, we only want that to happen as a last resort. You know, we never want it to happen, not during these times, but you know, we're just trying to put forth an effort in an indirect way because we know that the need's there. And this is one of those indirect ways that we thought we might be able to support an eviction prevention policy at least 200 properties that we have helped finance. Hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. I appreciate that you've thought through that. And you know your capacity certainly better than I. Just wanted to raise it from a policy consideration. So I appreciate that. If you don't mind refreshing my memory on the delegation authority having not sat in recently, is that over the CARES Act money? I just want to make sure I understand what we're extending, and I apologize to the rest of the board.
No, yeah, just to refresh everyone's memory, it only allows the delegation of the executive director to make decisions that are directly for COVID-19 response. And the CARES Act would be one of those items where it would be a direct response into COVID-19.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Jake? Jake, would you like to restate the motion that you would like us to vote on, delegating authority to you?
Yes, and I also maybe defer to my general counsel, David Stewart, just to make sure that I have articulated the correct recommendation. But the recommendation would be to extend the executive director delegation authority previously approved by the board until June 25th. So
That is exactly it. Perfect.
Hearing that, board, are there any questions? If not, I will entertain a motion in a second to delegate that authority to our executive director.
Mark Pascal, so moved.
Andy Place, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Jake, for that report. Thank you and your team for your service, not just during this time of need, but every single day for Hoosiers all over our state, some of the most vulnerable Hoosiers that we have. And you all do a tremendous job, and I'm very proud of you, and I know that the governor is also. So thank you very much for that. Is there any further business to come before the board?
Madam Chair, this is David Stewart, General Counsel. I have a couple of things. Number one, Mark Pascarella came on about 10:17, and it appears that, unless I'm wrong, Mark, that he approved or agreed with all the voting that took place during the entire session from once he came on. And June Midkiff communicated with us that she had been on the session about the same time that Mark came on. She was just unable to be heard. So as we did last month, I'll be verifying with her. She also was in agreement with everything that went on. It'll be reflected in the minutes.
That's correct from my standpoint.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional business to come before the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and a second.
So moved. Mike Schotmeyer, so moved.
Andy Place, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Have a great weekend, and well, I'm a little ahead of myself. Have a great Thursday, and we will be back in touch in June. Thank you.
Thank you.